The hips are a crucial component when it comes to your overall lower extremity health. Whether you're a cyclist, runner, hiker, play racket sports, really whatever you're doing, the hips and the core are the base for the rest of your body. So I want to go over a quick routine here that you can utilize. The 5 exercises to unlock your hips, get them moving a little bit better. Let's dive right in. So the first exercise here is the true hip flexor stretch. So for this stretch, we're working on the rectus femoris and iliopsoas, which are 2 muscles that insert on the front of your hip and help you bring the hip up. So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna start with one knee bent, start with one knee straight on the floor. You're gonna push the hips forward and then slightly rock forward. You should feel a good stretch in the front of your hips here. And I like to keep these movements dynamic, meaning I'm moving into and out of the range of motion instead of strictly holding. It depends on the time of day that you do these exercises. So you can do them in the morning, at night, or before activity. Especially if it's before activity, you want to keep it just a little bit more dynamic. The next exercise we'll go over here is called the Adductor Rockback. So for this exercise, we're working on the adductors. You might know these as the groin. What you're gonna do is start with your hands out front, knees on the floor, in that quadruped or all fours position. Then you're gonna stick one leg out, and then you're slowly gonna shift your hips back towards your heels. And you're again moving into and out of that motion. And you should really feel a good stretch along the inside of your thighs, that groin area. And there's no right or wrong number of repetitions for these exercises. Kind of move within a range that feels good. You can perform a little bit longer if you feel like you're stiffer, or you can move through them pretty quickly if you feel like you're not as stiff. Exercise number 3 here is the hip internal external rotation 90-90 drill. So for this exercise, we get into the 90-90 position, meaning that both your knees are bent. And this is going to work on the internal and external rotators of the hip, which are the muscles that insert on both sides of the hip and are responsible for rotating your hip in and out. So start in the 90-90 position, and then what you're going to do is lift your knee off the ground and then bring it back down in a controlled manner. And with this exercise, you're not only getting the benefit of working on the range of motion, you're also getting a little bit of benefit from strengthening through that range of motion as you focus on controlling the knee on its way down. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side, except this side we're working on internal rotation, this side we're working on external, and then we'll switch sides here. And then we're doing the same thing on both sides. We're just working the opposite motion here. Coming up. Perfect, and spend as much time as you need here. 2 more exercises that we're gonna go over. Last 2 are gonna be utilizing this box. First is gonna be the seated piriformis stretch. For this exercise, what you're gonna do is take one leg, bend it over the opposite knee, apply a little bit of overpressure on that knee, keep the chest up, then you're gonna bend forward, and come backwards. So the last exercise we did was passive and active. This exercise is mostly passive. We're not moving that hip, we're just stretching the tissues. Do the same thing on the other side here. The more mobile that our hips are here, the better our motion's gonna be, the easier we're gonna be able to perform various activities, inside and outside of sport, all that good stuff. Last exercise here is the seated hamstring stretch. Your hamstring actually attaches up at the hip, making it super important that we don't neglect this area. So you're gonna put your heel flat on the ground, keep your chest upright, and then you're bending forward and coming backwards. If you were to do this at the end of the day, end of activity, you could just bend forward and hold that position for about 30 seconds for 2 to 3 rounds. Before activity, I'd recommend going into and out of that motion. Just give these exercises a try. Let me know how those hips feel. I'm sure you'll be feeling a lot better once you start to incorporate this into your routine.